about, but the way you were raised, if your father is around or not around, because that also influences the way you grow. If you have a father figure in the household who is good to his wife, faithful to his wife, treats his wife as an equal partner in the household, treats all the children equal, you grow up with that mindset and knowing that we are supposed to be equal in our household, right? But now, when the person is not there, who is going to guide you?
Nobody.
Yes, and your mother sometimes she can try to balance being a mother and a father at the same time, but it's kind of hectic. But having a father figure in that kind of environment really boosts a man's ego, not only ego, but the way you are raised. And also, as a child, most times when you witness violence in your household, you see your mom beating your dad as a boy, or you see your mom or your dad beating your sisters, mistreating them, calling them names. You grow up with that mindset like all women are supposed to be treated this way. You marry your wife, the next day you're slapping her, because that is what defines you as a man. You feel that is man enough of you. If you don't do that, it's not like man enough. But that is not the right way. We are supposed to project manliness in the community.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you. Yes, but still, I have something to add. You talk of something very important, that is harmful practices. What are the common examples of harmful practices that leads to GBV, more especially in our community, apart from beating?
The harmful practices, I will start from our cultures. Because our culture actually defines us, our norms define us, our beliefs define us. Some of us in our communities, we are so attached to our norms. You will have a mindset as in your norm, maybe in your culture where you come from. A woman is not supposed to maybe climb a tree, or she's not supposed to build a house, or she's supposed to, maybe others also have those norms of women are the ones that build houses or households. But you, as a person, your norms are different. So let's say, I personally do not believe in that. But now let's say someone strongly believes in that. As he says, as a woman, you are supposed to cook, clean, take care of the kids. You're not supposed to work, because your man is supposed to provide for you, because he's the man of the house. But instances that he's not supposed to, he cannot provide for you. He's willing. There are those that are willing to provide for you, but he cannot because of other circumstances. And in that kind of issue, in that kind of pulling and rope, you have instances of violence in your household, because you feel the woman is now more powerful than you, and you're not taking that because you are grown or you're raised in a way a man is supposed to be the leader. He's supposed to be the provider. He's supposed to be the decision maker. He has to take over those roles. And now the woman is doing the roles that you are supposed, that you think or the society portrays for you to do. At the end of the day, violence comes up from there because you feel she's taken over your roles. How do you retaliate? You retaliate now with fights, with quarrels, with abuses. She's working at some shop. You say, when you go to work, men are admiring you. They will vibe you, take you over. When she comes back and now she's empowered, oh, this woman, she's going to overtake me in this house. Let me beat her, and she will go back into line. So kind of these harmful practices make us continue having GBV in our communities.
All right, thank you so much, Eunice. Yes, you tell us exactly.
I just wanted to add something brief about the causes.
Yes, more especially men. Now, why do they commit like GBV?
The most common causes currently is early marriage among the teens. You find out you are 17, 16, you got married, and when in the process of getting married, you find out responsibilities now become so wide. You find both the girl, because those are all kids, the girl and the boy, they cannot even push themselves ahead. You find that the girl may be defending now on back to the family, the boy will, there are a lot of chaos. At the end of the day, you find out fighting kick off in the house. So those are the issues that I always experience in my area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I have something to ask you. You talk of GBV resulting as a result of early marriage, but in our communities, you get sometimes it's commonly with elderly couples. What can you say about that? What could be the cause?
You know, if you are not prepared to get married, you don't need to. Don't be pushed by the peers that go and get married. So you should have this preparedness first before you you go into marriage. But that's why, you know, in a current situation that people are living in, you find that boys, because they don't control their emotions, they end up going into marriage. And now responsibility in the marriage is very difficult. Catering for this lady, you know, and
also the child.
It becomes so difficult. At the end of the day, the wife may say, I need this, it's not there. I need this, not there. You find out the boy is depressed. At the end, they end up fighting and even ending the marriage.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Moses. Now, what are the signs of gender-based violence? Let me start with you again.
Good. There are a lot of signs. One, we have, you know, we have the threats. There are a lot of threats that, like someone may have the pressure to have sex. Okay. Pressure to have sex with your wife. You find out the wife, you are drunk, coming home, the wife will not prepared, but because you intend, you find out you put a lot of pressure to the wife. So those are one of the signs. You find, not only that, isolations. When someone is isolated from the family, those are already the signs of what? Of GBV. We have critics. You criticize someone for no good reasons. You are against that person's price. So those are the issues that you find out. They are signals to the GBV. When you find those are the signals.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Eunice. Yes.
I think let me also try to add on some of the ways gender-based violence is manifested in our communities.
Yes.
How do we see it? Because as we know the types, I think people know the types, but some might not know the types or the forms of gender-based violence in our communities. There is the physical, there is the emotional, psychological, verbal, emotional, and economical or financial violences. So the physical is mostly the beating, the slapping, the fighting. The emotional is by the way they treat you. It triggers you.
Yeah. How
are your feelings not being taken into consideration? Because someone might have more power than you, and you are of lesser power than them. They use that against you, and they use that to their advantage, not considering your emotions in this. The psychological is mostly on the mental kind of aspect. They do not put your mental health at point here, because what they think is right is what you should go with. You have no objection to it. You know, let's say in an example of rape, a girl is raped. She comes to you and tells you, my sister, I've been raped. How do you approach that, first of all? How do you start talking to her? Do you start blaming her, justifying why she was raped, demystifying what happened to her, and you say, like, okay, why were you raped? Why were you walking? Which side of the road? What dress were you putting on? Did you look at the man anyhow? Did you give him signals to attract him to rape you? So you see how you approach that person. Mentally, the person is already blocked.
Disturbed, yeah.
Because they are coming to seek for help, and you're instead justifying what happened to them. At the end of the day, they are emotionally disturbed. They have nowhere to go to. They have no one to run to, because they cannot trust anyone. And that results to psychological problems. At the end of the day, the person decides, maybe, let me start doing drugs, or let me start doing something. And such instance, and you wonder, why are our kids doing this? But because of how they approached you and also denied them the rights, it can cause issues.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for that clarification. Now, who are the victims of gender-based violence? I'm starting this again with Moses because we need engagement of men on ending GBV. Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. You know, we normally consider the percentage that are affected. And in most cases, the victims of GBV are the girls and the women. Although the men are there, but they are in less percentage, so we cannot consider the men because they are not under threat.
No, we can consider them.
We consider the percentage of that is high, so that's why I consider mine as girls and women who are always the victims in most cases.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. And why is it common with women compared to men?
Yeah, it is common because men have turned to be violent against the girls and women. That's why it has become very common in most of the areas.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Moses, for that. Now, what are the effects of gender-based violence? Yes, Eunice, you can elaborate on this.
Before we go there, on the effects of gender-based violence, I would start by also adding on what he has said. On the, what did you say?
The victims.
The victims of gender-based violence, that's women and men in the community. I would personally say men and women both.
But the majority is what we
women.
stand for.
Yeah, we stand for the majority. That is women and girls that are going through, that face these gender-based violences in our community. As he said, I would start by saying that our community, first of all, is patriarchal. What I mean patriarchal is that it is male-dominated, male-ruled, male decision-making, male everything. So at the time when someone is being perpetrated on, that dominance is there. Like it is a man's world, you know. There is, I don't know, I think the women's world is marginalized or somewhere else. I don't understand this, but at the end of the day, the society is patriarchal. And how are we trying to push that? At the end of the day, they see, oh yeah, if violence is perpetrated on a woman in a patriarchal society, it is not taken of a great, let's say, how would say, great impact. It will be lessened. Yes.
Okay.
I would say that.
All right. Now, what can you say about the effects of GBV?
Effects. I think the effects are still some of them we mentioned before. The effects also how it affects you as a person psychologically, that is mentally. How do you behave? How do you communicate in your community? How do you socialize with people? It also can lead to death, actually, because we have been seeing that a lot. Violence is in the past few weeks. Women are being killed by their men, by their husbands. Women are being raped. People are fighting in their different communities. These kind of issues come up. In terms of, let's say, fighting wars, women face a lot of GBVs because sometimes women's vulnerability is taken and used against them. It is used as a tactic. Because let's say I rape your sister. This is an example. Don't take me out of context. Guys, I rape your sister. You will want to revenge, right?
Yeah, sure.
So you come and also maybe rape my whole clan. And that will cause for us issues. Now, we're having issues as a community because you did this to our women. Also, we want to revenge to your women. So those kind of violences will never stop, actually. They will. We are hoping for them to stop, and we are praying for it to stop. That's why we're engaging men, mostly. That is what we are doing as men for women, engaging men in accountable practice, so that we have more men to speak up about gender-based violence, to be allies to ending gender-based violence against women and girls in our communities. So we are getting the perspective of men in gender-based violence.
Okay, thank you for that. Yes, Moses.
Let me just add something. You know, the effects are very broad. It has really affected not only the women, even the children. You find out in cases of fighting, most of the effects are in domestic form. You find out domestic violence that resulted in a lot of effects of this GBV. You find out these couples, when they end up fighting, there's separation already in the family, and this one goes to the children. You find that the children are already isolated. They don't have nowhere. They have nowhere to go. The mother cannot cater for the child, and the child end up going to the street. You find that the number of street kids keep increasing. Even not only it even affect these kids in the school. Performance becomes poor. A lot of absentees in the schools. So it reduces on the performance of these kids. Even to the husband. The husband, after this separation, you find that the husband is already what? Traumatized. Going for these robberies at night because the mind is already they are depressed. Yeah. So it is really a wider thing. Wider effect, yeah.
All right, thank you for that. Now, how can gender-based violence be prevented? Any of you can start.
Okay.
Yes, Moses, all right.
Moses, you can start.
Okay, gender-based violence can be prevented. I can say if all men have agreed to work closely with the women. If all men have agreed, like the program that we are running, if all goes well, I believe we can prevent 90% of this violence. When, like currently, if you have sacrificed yourself that you need this thing to stop, and the community is willing to accept your idea, then we can move very fast. You can prevent this violence. But one, you should be a mentor. All men should be a mentor towards this GBV. We should keep preaching the gospel of the violence to the community, like what we are doing now. If you keep on doing that in the schools, even in the churches, we can prevent what? Violence. Yeah.
Okay, let me hope, Moses, you're doing what you're saying. That's interesting. Okay, Pichiko, what can you add on the prevention method of GBV?
How can we prevent gender-based violence? I would say it starts with accountability. Accountability is where you as a person, you identify and you challenge the harmful ideas or norms that are going to cause issues in your community, but rather you bring social change, the positive ones in your community. So as a person, you should be accountable for your actions. Do not justify, I like using the word justify, I don't know why, but do not justify your actions. Take accountability for what you have done. Do not say, oh, yes, so what if I raped her? But say, oh my God, I'm remorseful of what I did. I'm sorry. Let justice prevail. If you're going for 5 years, go for those 5 years. Do not beg and do not say, I'm going to pay a goat and we shall forgive you, or they give you the girl and you marry her. Just to put it down. No, be accountable for what you have done. And you should be able to not only being accountable, but how do you change you as a person? Your ways, your behaviors in the community can also influence people to understand that, okay, yes, he did this wrong. He has accounted for his time, but he's also remorseful and he's changing towards being a positive man in his community. Yes.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Let me also add, as I said, the prevention is a broad thing. It's a whole effort that if all of us are willing, like to the media, iRadio, if you keep on passing the message about GBV, we are doing prevention. So those are it's not only that a personal issue a person should be the one to handle this, but
collective responsibility.
Yes.
Can tackle this.
All right. Yeah. Okay, thank you for that clarification. Now, how can men be allies in preventing GBV against women and also men? Yes, let me start this with Moses, because we need to know exactly how can you men be allies in this case.
Yeah, starting because I'm a man.
Yes.
Because, being an ally is actually a person who helps to rescue a situation that is worse. So when you find there's a situation that is very wrong, one, you have to act is you have to be supportive to the situation, help out, find out the root cause of this problem after going through and your findings, and then give a way out where you can help this person who is a victim. Give her the advice out in case he or she need this help. Go for it. But you are not supposed to push the person to be to accept what you are saying. You have to listen to the victim very well. Those are how allies work.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, Eunice, what can you add?
I think he has said everything, because actually he's doing that work, kind of work. So I would say again, maybe just to re-echo some of the things he has said, I would say the first is, for me, is to continue learning about the problem as a person who wants to be an ally. Learn about it. Every day there are new things that come up. Learn about the problem. Why is it happening? When did it happen? Why? How? Like where? And stuff like that. When you get this kind of information, it helps you to be a stronger ally, because you know how can you prevent this from happening in your community, because you are able now to stand with women and girls in such situations. And the other thing is that being an ally, or being a man who is an ally, you should understand that when a lady or a woman says no, it really means no. Do not say, oh, she said no, but maybe her body was saying yes. No, do not think for her. When she says no, it is a no. And also, as a man, to be an ally, you should support women in leadership positions. You should support women to take up roles in decision making, in policies making, in every kind of degree in your community, because we want to see more women in those spaces. Encourage women to go more to school. Instead of saying you're 16, you're 17, you're ripe for marriage. You know, so encourage more women to even take up courses that sometimes they think are for men, like engineering. Why are women not doing it? Women are doing it, but then at the end of it, they think women can be teachers, maybe nurses or something. But you can also be an engineer as a woman. So encourage women to take up such roles. And also, try to be a role model, like he said. Try to be a role model.
Like him.
Yeah, like him. Try to be a role model to other men and boys in the community, because sometimes we copy from what we see in the community. I'll see my brother, he's helping. When he says, not only an old mama or a young girl trying to cross the road or something, he helps. And you're like, oh, maybe next time I should do this. He helped. Instead of a lady passing by and you start calling her Bamba and all these names, which are very, sometimes
you make some
those sister and those weird comments. But how do you say, okay, salam, you greet her, she passes by, but do not call her or call her names on the road. All right. So that's how you can be an ally to women and girls.
Okay, interesting. Now, what does Men for Women do as a part of engaging other men in ending GBV in the country? This one goes straight to Eunice as a program officer. Tell us more about Men for Women.
Okay. Men for Women is a national organization registered this year. And we are specifically, get me right, we are specifically working with men and boys.
So how did you reach
But we are not removing women and girls, because we need women and girls' voices to re-echo, to re-share, to also inform men of the practices they take in community. And we are engaging men in aspects of sexual reproductive health, family planning. When I say family planning, most times I get a backlash from men. Like, why don't you want our women to produce? Okay. We died in the war. Those are the kind of excuses they give. We have to multiply. But then I'm like, why have 10, 15 children, and at the end of the day, you have 2 that are good, and the rest are not? Why not have 3 good children from good schools, you can provide for and can even become big people in the community instead of just having children for the sake of having children. Yes.
And you can't cater for them.
Yes. And at the end, the burden goes to someone else, which is kind of tough. So let me go back to men for women. So we're engaging men also in a positive masculinity. What do I mean by positive masculinity? What is masculinity in the first place? So masculinity is the qualities or the attributes that a man is supposed to have. In our community, we have toxic and positive masculinity, but in most times we have toxic masculinity. And the toxic masculinities are the ones that are really being reinforced actually in our communities, because they think this is how a man is supposed to act. As a man, you have to be tough. You have to be a provider. You don't cry. Don't show emotions. Why would you do that? As a woman, as a man, you can discipline a woman. As a man, you can take as you want. So there is that kind of norms that our cultures, not our harmful cultures, are trying to promote. Even as a man, you're not supposed to cook, which I feel is really not right, because it's a survival skill. It's not a gender role-based skill. But as a man, you can cook, you can clean, you can wash. My dad cleans, my dad cooks. It's not saying that he doesn't have a wife. He has wife, he has children, he has daughters. But he can do this also on his own. You as a man, you can also do that. So we're trying to promote positive masculinity, where we have men and women sharing the same roles, being in the same spaces, of being on the same level. Not a woman is lesser and a man is on the other level. No, we're trying to have gender equality, where we have men and women standing in the same place and speaking on the same thing. So we started the IMAP this year, where we trained 30 young men and women. We had 6 women and 24 men. So I had an issue. Someone told me, why would you said you called out for men to become allies, but you're training women too. Then I said, we're training women too because women's voices guide men. They're guiding men in the community. So when we had this training, and I'll give a brief background about EMAP also. When we had this training, they were assigned, the participants were assigned locations. Actually, they were supposed to make their decisions. They made the decisions, like we're going to have activities in Monoki and Jupanabari. They identified these locations according to them. And what do they want to do? They want to engage men in kind of these talks that they have also, that they were trained on how to prevent gender-based violence and end gender-based violence in their community. So we had that session where we are still having, our last week is actually next week.
Okay.
We engaged men for 8 weeks, and we engaged women for 4 weeks. The 4 weeks of women, voices were collected. These voices are going to be used and are being used already to re-echo what women are facing in the community to men, to better their understanding, to also shape the way they rule, they take care of women and work with women in the community. Okay. So that's something we're doing. It's kind of not easy, especially, but it's making a progress. I've seen that people's attitudes are changing.
Okay. From
the first day. I am not supposed to be there, actually. It's only the men, and I've been the women's side. But because I oversee, the first day, some of the men were really actually saying, it's normal, we can beat our wives. But after some days,
they realized,
oh,
wow,
it's really affecting my sister this way and this way. How can I be a better man, a better friend, a better father, a better brother? So this is changing the norms. Okay. I know one by one we will change the kind of society we live in.
All right. In Arabic, we say inshallah.
Inshallah.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Dear listener, you are still listening to Zone 72 Youth Program on iRadio, your eye on South Sudan. And that was Eunice Pichiko, a program officer of Men for Women, and Moses Yuma, Moses Yuma, a facilitator for engaging men in accountable practice speaking. Our studio lines are now open. You can call on 0922 986 986 or 0911 986 986, or you can send a text message to 0913 986 986 to share your opinion. We are talking about gender-based violence, mostly men engagement on ending GBV, and I would like to know from you as a listener, maybe as a man, what do you do to prevent you from committing GBV, and also why should ending GBV be a collective responsibility of both men and women? iRadio.
Hello.
Yes, iRadio. All right, 0922 986 and 986 or 0911 986 986, or you can send a text on 0913 986 and 986. iRadio.
Hello.
Yes, please. Your name and where are you calling from?
Good evening to you, presenter, and our guests.
All right, your name?
Moses.
What's your name?
Servant. This is servant of God.
Okay, you're welcome, servant of God.
Calling from Lologo too.
Welcome.
I really appreciate you and the station for bringing up such programs.
Thank you.
Our society is really in need of such programs. And I appreciate our guests there in the studio. You have asked a very serious question from the beginning. What is the cause of the gender-based violence? And they have given out different reasons. What I can add as a servant is there is a background which is very far, in which we have to go back to how the creation have started. I'm not putting blame on each and every one, neither a man or a woman, but there is an evil spirit which have put himself in between, whereby he was the cause of that gender-based violence from the beginning. Since that time coming today, we have different things. Even there is some reasons of gender-based violence which is beyond the ability of our guests in the studio, because they are relating to the situation in economic situation, they are relating to political situation, they are relating to different things which are beyond their ability. But as long we have that willingness to solve it, then we can have that positive impact on our society. That is started since that time of creation.
Thank you.
If we are going to handle ourselves, because nobody can harm himself, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
Even me, the man have been created and the woman created from the ribs of the man. They are one body. How come they are going to harm themselves? There is no way. But there is that evil spirit. And after that, there is things like the situation and all those reasons which they have expressed.
All right, thank you.
we have to put our hands together, because our society is based on men and women. This is society. If there is a problem with the women, we have problem in society. If there is a problem with the men, we have problem in society. Otherwise, they must be together.
Exactly.
Either being okay or they are not okay. But if we want our society to be okay, then we have to put our hands together and understand real cause of those things and try our level best to put our hands together seriously and really and in a good faith and going back to biblical teaching. That's how we can really come out with the tangible results, with the positive results in the way that our society will be safe without gender-based violence. It's there all over the world. It's not in our country only.
Okay, thank you so much. All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, servant of God, for your positive feedback. Yes, according to the Bible, is evil spirit. So if you know you have that evil spirit, then it's right time for you to go to the church. Maybe they will pray for you and then you will stop it. Thank you so much for that. Let's also hear from another caller. iRadio. Hello, iRadio. Alright, لكل مستمعين تايزا راديو دي بيكا فرصة لإيتا سنتا بقدر شاركوا في برنامج تا زون 72 Youth Program وقاليلا أن بنعكس أن أنفديت النو الجهاز التوالي لنسوان في مجتمعات بتاعنا ومشاركة رجال في حلو مشاكلات أنفديت النو يعني كراجل كيف إيتا بأبسو أو إيتا بجور نفسك بعيد من مشاكلات أنفديت النو وكمان ليه ومهم عشان الرجال والنسوان بيكون جزء في حل مشاكلات أنفديت النو في مجتمع بتاعنا. iRadio. Hello, iRadio. Alright, do not forget that you are still listening to Zone 72 Youth Program on iRadio, your eye on South Sudan, and this program comes your way every Saturday from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. and I'm having guests with me in the studio who are ready to respond to your questions in case you have, and also feel free to share with us your opinion. For example, tell me as a man, what do you do to prevent you from committing GBV? And also, why should ending GBV be a collective responsibility of both men and women? Hello, iRadio.
Yes, hello?
Yes, iRadio, your name and where are you calling from?
Yes, I'm just calling from Jengeru, and this is Buddha.
Who, Peter?
Buddha.
Buddha, you're welcome.
Yeah. The program is so interesting,
Thank you.
and I think we all, as men, we hope for gender parity.
Mm.
And to achieve that gender parity, there should be a way to empower women. So we can empower women in a way that they are given all of into life skill development activities. Like training, maybe women coming together and having groups for businesses and discuss issues that can raise, and also involving women in positions or even giving them the chance to lead as other men also do. I think in that way, it can reduce the level of GBV in the community. So I believe there are a lot that we can do, and if we work together, and I think those cases might reduce in the community. Because in an event that if we leave women or men only to deal with issues, and then we might not achieve the gender parity, and we find that because at some point where men will be the only source of threat in the family or in their community, and then cases of gender violence will go up. But if we maintain gender parity, where they're also given some level of skill development, some effort that they can also be like men, I think it will be better, and you will see cases of gender violence reducing in the communities.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I encourage the the partners that are working in those sectors to really do more, and also involve men in those activities. It is not only like focusing on women, but they need also to focus on men, because it's men normally who does, the greater percentage is men who does the GBV. So if they are not involved in that process, that means you find there will be gender cases in the community. For example, if there's a distribution or cash distribution to beneficiaries, and we only give that cash to women, at the end will cause GBV cases in the community or even in the household. But it's good if you can involve even the men. They receive the cash and they look at themselves as equal.
Okay.
Like not really siding on one side, but they look themselves as equal, and they will contribute in all the development in that community. So that's the contribution that I have, and some angles that I have really seen in the topic, and it's very encouraging, and we encourage the partners to do more in those areas.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Buddha, for your positive feedback. Yes, involving men in ending GBV, just like Men for Women is doing. That's so interesting. Let's also hear from another caller. I'm going to pick now one call, and then we hear from our guest. After that, we call it a good evening. You still have the chance to share with me your opinion as a man. What do you do to prevent you from committing GBV? And also, why should ending GBV be a collective responsibility of both men and women? Lekulu mustamain Taizai Radio, yes, itumlisa basumale barnamij bita Zone 72 youth programs yana kelim alela na binakis and unfdital no kusuz yani tiriga rujal be it hakam au biogif ma tiriga ta amulumin ken unfdital lo fi mujtamad bitana shan kida na jaruf yani karajil kif itabi abusu au itabi juru nepsak be itmin mashakilata unfdit almara وكمان لقوا مهم عشان رجال ونسوان بيكون جزء في هلو مشاكلات أنف أديت المرأة. Hello, I read you. 0922-986-986 or 0911-986-986. One last caller. If you can't reach via our call lines, you can send for us SMS on 0913-986-986. And my name is Winnie Eric, your host for the program. And this program is called Zone 72 Youth Program, brought to you by Canadian Association of Midwives and UNFPA. I read you.
Hello?
Yes, please, your name and where are you calling from?
Yeah, talking with Michael Malone.
You're welcome, Michael.
Yeah. You know, what we have been talking is clear that on our behalf here in South Sudan does not show that we a man or a woman. The English say that mistake, come on, if someone has did the mistake, people should account and hold the man who did this thing or the woman. But it is not like that. I zol kulu lo zaman beto yamul mishla beto ma gasir fi mishla ta ba mul uta begese so kulu ai kulu mishla bete well lo ala sab de diri mo ita amoja for example when you kill somebody by intention, you are been killed. If you're not killing by intention, that's why you kill now, you make accident. Although if you kill somebody, you cannot be taken to the court to be killed because you have been driving the car, okay? And any problem happens among the people should be solved. But typically, according to the case, yeah, the more because the news is all one of the cases. I know more bagger the jammo nas full. So jal. People mawar kare yaba gal. Leba sabu rujal bugulu ita mata wata patij mara bata zo lakin malu ma bugulu ita kaman mara malu ma mata wata patij rajil bata mara. Ada yaba kata gal gare. Lakin ma yawa ma haja. So ina nazar nishuk المشاكل الواصل يعني مثلا بين الراجل عمله شوفه لو بتقبل في الكلام ده يعني اعتبرنا بينا some people they used to complicate that is the one who did that problem but it is not like that if someone didn't accept and that there is simple there is problem happening there how do you see that?
Okay. All right, thank you so much. All right, thank you so much, Michael Malone, for your positive feedback. Yes, he's complaining everyone should be blamed according to the mistake you do. So this one I'm throwing to my guest to clarify for you. Actually, we didn't mean anybody, but let's hear from them. Yes, Eunice, what can you say?
Michael Malone, I understand your frustration because with what you have shared, that as a man, like they say, women should also not pursue other people's wives the same way men pursue other women's, I think, husbands. I understand your frustration in that, and also in the fact that anyone who's held accountable or does something wrong should be held accountable and should be able to pay for that, and that is what we are trying to also advocate for. As a person found, or a perpetrator that has been found guilty of an harmful act against someone, obviously should be held accountable. You should serve your time. You should be tried in the court of justice. You should pay your dues. You should be able to even, if possible, should be imprisoned. It depends on the sentencing from the courts on what you have done. And from that, we can kindly now see in the community that justice is being served, so that people can be like more knowledgeable, and they understand, okay, if I do this, I'll be jailed, I'll be fined, I'll be punished for it. So if we keep also letting these instances go, because let me use this word, I don't like using it, but there is a way the society, and I would say the community, tries to say small misunderstanding. De mushkila tamara beragil. Aje de suker. Bihilu mushkila de asare. You don't know that when you're sending someone back, maybe that is their last time of coming there alive. Maybe they're coming back in a grave or in a coffin, God forbid. But how are we trying to say that this mushkila, where we say it is small, why are we not coming into it and solving it as a community? Not only as a community, but as an individual. Understand where you went wrong, apologize, and change your ways. Do not say, oh, because I'm a man or I'm a woman, I'm supposed to behave like this, and you justify it, and you say that is how I'm supposed to be, and just continue with that kind of behavior in the community.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Eunice, for clarifying that. Now, last to you, like, what is your last remark concerning our topic of today? Let me start with Moses. What's your last message to the audience?
Okay. My last message, I just say all men should be allies to women. We need to understand our women. We need to support them. That's my message. And concerning our program is still ongoing, and I believe if you are also online, you are hearing, you need to change according, and you need to avoid some of the cultural beliefs that normally hinders, and that puts the relationship into the violence. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. Yes, Eunice.
I would say that my last words would be saying, let's say, gender-based violence is real. It's in our communities, it's in our households, it's in our families, it's within our communities, within everywhere we stay. But how do we as people, as the community, because we're the community, actually we're the society, who are also doing this to other people, but how do you as a person not only hold yourself accountable, but how do you make sure that these incidences of violence are removed from your community? What kind of policies can you come up with as a community? What kind of new custom, let's say, or belief, no, not custom, I would say norm or culture, that can you cultivate in your community that will be copied and used by other people to promote positive masculinity?
Okay.
So I would really use that.
All right, thank you so much for that. And youth can always send us questions about adolescent health to youthzone72@gmail.com or call 0922009497. Like our Facebook page, Youth Zone 72, and the hotlines includes for GBV is 623, COVID-19 is 6666, adolescent health immediate is 885. With that, we have come to the end of today's edition of Zone 72 Youth Program, which tackled men engagement on ending GBV. And my guests in the studio were Eunice Pichiko, a program officer of Men for Women, and Moses Yuma, a facilitator for engaging men in accountable practice. Thank you for participating in the show, and remember to join me again the coming Saturday at 4 p.m. for another edition of the program. My name is Winnie Eric. Until next time, stay safe.